Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about Thomas Edison. But real quickly, thank you for the 3 people that subscribed over the past 2 weeks, and hopefully more people will subscribe going forward. I post 2 new videos every week. Once again, today we're talking about Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison didn't just invent products, he invented a modern technology business. When most people think of Thomas Edison, they picture the light bulb, the brilliant inventor who lit up the world. But the story leaves out almost everything that made him one of history's richest and most influential entrepreneurs. Edison didn't become famous simply because he invented things. He built factories, hired hundreds of researchers, aggressively defended patents, crushed competitors, manipulated the media, and helped create industries worth trillions of dollars today. Sounds like a modern businessman to me. He also became one of the most controversial businessmen in the Industrial Revolution. From the War of the Currents against Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse to accusations of taking credit for inventions made by his employees, Thomas Edison was equal parts genius, businessman, and ruthless competitor. This is the business of Thomas Edison. Thomas Alva Edison was born in 1847 in Milan, Ohio. He wasn't the model student most people imagine. He had only a few months of formal education before his mother began homeschooling him. Instead of spending his childhood in classroom, Edison became obsessed with experiments and, more importantly, making money. At just 12 years old, he sold newspapers, candy, and snacks on trains turning between Detroit and Port Huron. Most kids work for spending money. Edison expanded. He hired other boys to sell products for him. He negotiated supply prices. He even launched his own newspaper called the Grand Trunk Herald, printed directly on the train. He became one of the first newspapers produced on a moving train. Before becoming an inventor, Edison was already thinking like an entrepreneur. After learning telegraphy as a teenager, Edison realized something important. The biggest money wasn't in operating technology, it was in owning the patents. His first major payday came in 1869. He invented an improved stock ticker for Wall Street. The invention solved major communication problems for financial markets. The company buying the rights offered him $40,000. That's worth about $900,000 today. Edison later admitted he expected only a few $1,000s. Instead, he suddenly had startup capital. Rather than retiring, he reinvested nearly everything. Instead of working alone like most inventors in the era, Edison built something entirely new. In 1876, he opened a laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey. People often call it the world's first industrial research laboratory. Rather than one genius working alone, hundreds of machinists, chemists, engineers, glass blowers, draftsmen, and scientists worked together. The lab operated almost like a modern tech company. Employees specialized in different tasks, teams improved prototypes, ideas were tested continuously. Edison reportedly said his goal was a minor invention every 10 days and a big thing every 6 months. This wasn't accidental inspiration, it was mass production of innovation. Companies like Bell Labs, IBM Research, Extron, and Google X all trace part of this research culture back to its model. One of the biggest myths in history is that Thomas Edison did not invent the first light bulb. Electric lights already existed. The problem was they were expensive, unsafe, and burned out quickly. Edison focused on creating an entire commercial lighting system. That meant developing reliable bulbs, generators, electrical wiring, meters, switches, fuse boxes, and power stations. And then, of course, the installation services to go with them. Instead of selling a product, he sold an ecosystem. This sounds familiar, right? Apple didn't invent the smartphone, they built an ecosystem around it. Edison did something similar almost 130 years earlier. His company began installing complete electrical systems for business and cities. Became dependent on Edison's infrastructure. The recurring demand created enormous profit. Edison eventually founded multiple businesses, among them Edison Electrical Light Company, Edison Machine Works, Edison Lamp Company, Edison General Electric. Each one of these companies handled parts of the business: manufacturing, research, distribution, infrastructure, and licensing. Rather than one company doing everything, Edison created an interconnected corporate network. Sounds like he was trying to avoid himself getting sued or lose money. His investor included some of the richest men in America, including the famous JP Morgan. Eventually, many Edison companies merged together. The result was General Electric, today GE. I didn't know that Thomas Edison created General Electric. That was a mind blow for me. General Electric has generated hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue over its history and became one of America's largest corporations. Although Edison eventually lost operational control, his name helped launch one of the world's most influential. Edison understood intellectual property better than anyone of his era. Over his lifetime, he received more than 1,000 US patents, along with hundreds of international patents. Each patent, each patent wasn't just recognized, he became a business asset. Companies paid license fees, competitor risked lawsuits. Investors valued companies based partly on patent portfolios. Modern technology giants like Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, and Qualcomm continue using this exact strategy today. For Edison, ideas became property and property became wealth. Then came one of history's greatest rivalries. Nikola Tesla briefly worked for Edison after arriving in America. According to Tesla, Edison promised him a large bonus if he improved the efficiency of Edison's direct current generator. Tesla later claimed that after completing the work, Edison laughed and said he had misunderstood an American joke. Edison denied the story, and historians still debate exactly what happened. Whether the bonus was ever truly promised remains uncertain. Tesla resigned and soon joined George Westinghouse. That decision would change history. This wasn't just about science, it was about billions of dollars. Edison had invested heavily in direct current, or DC. The problem: DC lost power quickly and over long distances. Tesla alternating current, or AC, could transmit electricity much farther and more efficiently. If AC won, much of Edison's infrastructure could become obsolete, so Edison fought back hard. So, this is probably one of the reasons why today we don't have modern technology, even though we live in a modern era. It's because that the people that own the technology that we have today fight so hard to make sure that things stay the way that they are. This is just a historical example, and I'm sure you can think of some examples that are happening today, but I'm not going to get into those. Rather than simply arguing through engineering, Edison launched one of history's most infamous public relations campaign. He publicly electrocuted dogs, cats, calves, and other animals, claiming to demonstrate how dangerous alternating current was. This sounds perfectly misdirection, like used today. Some of these demonstrations were conducted by others who supported Edison's position, but Edison actively promoted the message that AC was posed as serious public danger. The most notorious case involved Topsy, the elephant in 1903. Although many people associate Topsy electrocution directly with Edison, historians note that Edison was not present and did not organize the event. By the time the War of the Currents had largely ended, however, films of the execution were produced by the Edison Manufacturing Company. further linking his name to the incident. Edison also supported using AC for the first time, using electric chair execution. The goal was psychological. If people associated alternating current with death, maybe they wouldn't buy AC system. I think this was a crazy concept, and the fact that it probably worked is insane. That's like saying if you try to swim, you could drown, so then you shouldn't swim. It was one of the earliest examples of large scale fear marketing. Ultimately, it failed. Westinghouse and Tesla's AC system became the global standard. Even today, our electrical grids still use alternating current. Another controversy follows Edison to this day. Many historians argue that Edison received disproportionate credit for inventions developed by teams working in his laboratories. His employees often made significant technical breakthroughs, yet the patents frequently listed Edison as the inventor or owner. To be fair, this wasn't unusual for large institutional laboratories at the time. Business owners often held patent rights to work created by employees under their direction. Still, critics argue Edison carefully cultivated the image of a lone genius while benefiting from the work of dozens and eventually hundreds of talented researchers. Supporters counter that leading research, securing funding, directing projects, and turning prototypes into successful businesses were themselves an extraordinary achievement. The debate continues. Edison also became deeply involved in the movie business. His company developed cameras, projectors, and film technology. But instead of competing only through innovation, he relied heavily on patents. In 1908, he helped form the Motion Picture Patents Company, something called the Edison Trust. The group attempted to control nearly every aspect of the American film industry through licensing. Independent filmmakers who refused to pay license fee often faced lawsuits and legal pressure. Some filmmakers decided the easiest solution was simply to move away from Edison lawyers. One destination offered good weather, cheap land, and nearly 3,000 miles from New Jersey, Hollywood. While Hollywood rise had many causes, Edison's aggressive patent enforcement was one factor that encouraged parts of the industry to relocate west. Ironically, his efforts to dominate filmmaking helped shape the future home of the movie industry. So there you go, guys. You have Thomas Edison's dictatorship to thank for Hollywood being a thing today. By the time Edison died in 1931, he had transformed the role of the inventor. He proved that inventions could become scalable businesses, research could be industrialized, patents could become corporate weapons, innovations could be organized like manufacturing. Some admire him as America's greatest inventor. Others remember him as a ruthless monopolist who fought competitors with lawsuits and propaganda. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Without Edison, the modern research laboratory might look very different. The electric utility industry might have developed more slowly. General Electric might have never existed, but without Tesla, the electrical system powering your home today probably wouldn't exist either. History rarely gives us pure heroes or pure villains. Thomas Edison was something more complicated, a visionary entrepreneur whose great inventions the light may not have been the light bulb at all, it may have been the business model behind innovation itself. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a comment, and more videos coming soon.